Welcome to BeOnAir, the official instructional series from the Ohio Media School. Whether you're dreaming of the spotlight or mastering the craft behind it, we're here to help you level up your skills. Welcome back to BeOnAir. I'm Mick, and today I want to go over an applied application of the rotoscope tool that I showed last time, so let's get started. So first off, I'm going to show you the trick, and so the first thing you're going to need to do is set up your shot for filming something like this. I'm actually going to show some behind the scenes of us filming this that I grabbed on my cell phone. As you can see, real simple, just sort of a medium shot with a whip pan at the end. Took us a while to get the timing down, but we got it. This last take on the bottom right is the one we actually used in the clip itself. Now with this next stand, I brought out a C-stand and our good old dental floss, and I hung the glasses on, and this took a bit. This took a little bit of wrangling to get right. All right, and here is our final setup where it's just grabbing the glasses. This just starts with a whip pan and just ends on the shot. Trying to do it handheld, it ended up working better on the tripod, but it was a worthwhile experiment. Now that we've done that, let's get started on our project. So, we're going to create a new project, name it something memorable, go and change your location, hit save, and hit create. Alright, now I'm going to go and drag my footage into my project file. As you can see, we have a lot of takes. Always organize. And drag your footage in. So let's start with our first shot and just get a rough assembly together. I'm going to kind of speed through this and get to the part where we focus on the transition, because right now I'm just watching through our takes and looking for one where the whip pan happens at the exact point. There we go. There's our glass slipper. I've gotten very much to the point where I like to have my cuts be as precise as possible when I put them down. I used to be much more into just rough cutting things and then refining later, but I find that I've kind of know my preference for how I want to see things cut and when and where I like to cut, so I just sort of do it as I go. Because right now what we're trying to cut on is the motion blur, and then we're going to add some in post. So now we add the shot of the glasses spinning, which we did with dental floss. And now I'm just gonna have these butt up. I'm grabbing a little bit more than I need to just to be safe. As you notice from the previous clip, this shot ends up being very quick. And now I'm just looking for a good shot where I catch it. And here I think we found a good shot, so let's add it in. Now right here, I'm going in and adding our base plate. So one of the reasons I chose to do this particular effect here, and I think it's something important when you talk about doing your effects, is I knew that when I rotoscoped it, the red background would match due to all of it having these same red walls. So there was a fair amount of blocking I sort of planned ahead of time for this one. Now, the original video I got this idea from was someone showing how to do this on, I believe, CapCut on TikTok. And I was like, that's kind of fun. I think we can do it. I am here second guessing my glasses choices. Ignore me failing miserably with my glasses. Swapped out that glasses shot. Now here I am adding a little bit of a speed ramp to help sell that throw. And I'm going to go in now and adjust some of the way that speed ramp works. I'm going to give myself what I like to call some real estate. Because right now I realize the hit is going a little too fast. And I'm just going to go in and make some adjustments. And now I'm ready to bring these glasses into After Effects. I'm just making a few final adjustments. I'm going to just bezier this curve a bit. And I'm going to do the same trick here, add a little bit of a speed ramp, but I'm going to do it a different way. Just because. Alrighty. And right now I'm just adjusting the orientation of which it spins by reversing the speed of the top clip. There we go. Now it's spinning the way I want. All right, now we're ready to bring these into After Effects. I'm going to select these files, right click, and go to Replace with After Effects Composition. Now we're going to go and rename and save this file in somewhere that makes sense for where we're saving it. And name it something you'll remember. You can best believe I have a billion files called Roto something. Alrighty, now we've already gone over rotoscoping, but this is going to be a bit more of an applied use because this one just isn't quite as clean of a roto blaze. This one took quite a bit of doing. Now, something I should mention, for the purposes of recording these, I make it so my mouse size is double. So do not be alarmed if it looks like I'm not in kind of the area. It's how I set it up, just so that way you could really see what I'm doing when I'm going in editing. And now I'm going to speed through this a bit because as you can see, I'm having to go in and do quite a lot of refinement. And this is what I warn people about with rotoscoping is unless you have something that's really clearly defined, and the problem with glass is being see-through. So one of the reasons I did this way is because I knew that one of the reasons this trick works is where you film your background plate is typically right between the two areas you'd be anyway. I could see that if you were trying to have this effect take place over two very different landscapes, such as like from outside to inside. I haven't experimented with this, but my assumption is that it wouldn't be quite as good. All right, so I'm pretty happy with this. Probably gonna go in and do a little bit more cleaning. This string is about to become a bit of a nightmare, and I'm actually kind of glad about that because it gives me an opportunity to show what that looks like when you have to go in and fight your mat a bit, because you'll see, and I didn't notice this at first because there's just a little bit on the string, but there's that little bit of pink overlay boundary, and this is why some of your other overlays are good. I just mistakenly assumed I had caught it. Again, this is where rotoscoping can get fairly fiddly. There's no particular reason I'm tracking backwards. I find that the propagation works both forwards and backwards when it thinks about it, but it somewhat favors going forward, at least in my experience. I'm just gonna speed through this a bit. This is also why I recommend rotoscoping not be something I wouldn't personally want to do this for multiple minutes. Ignore that warning. It typically means that you're faster than a computer and Skynet won't win. All right, we're gonna hit freeze. I'm gonna notice there's some issues, and then I'm going to hit stop freeze and go in and refine them. Now, I've mentioned this before with rotoscoping, but here you can clearly see why a high shutter speed would do you a lot of favors if you know you're going to have to do this. Typically with effects, you should know you're doing them beforehand. All right, great. And this actually looks pretty good, but we need to go do a few things to make this really sell. So I'm going to go in and do a little bit of keyframe animating. after I fix this one small, mildly annoying issue. Originally with this video, I was thinking of showing how to use the CC wire removal tool, but I found that this was just faster. I kind of intuitively did it, and then when I was done remembered, oh, I could have showed that. But for a later video, I'd be more than happy to show that because it has some uses beyond. I've used it to remove dirt on lenses, like small specks. It wouldn't really be good for big smudges, but when I had like a small bit of dirt on a lens that was driving me nuts, I was able to get rid of it. So here I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna really start to go in and mess with this background. Normally I don't recommend zooming in a shot as much as I am about to. Fortunately, I have some fairly powerful plugins for my end result where I've gotten a bit lazy with just punching things in and then fixing it later. Because I typically recommend, if you're just using the native program, not to go above like 15% when you're scaling in to avoid quality loss, unless you've purposely shot on a higher resolution than you're editing in. And now we're going to do some keyframe animation. Go to your effects control tab, get your starting position, hit your key watch, create your first keyframe, drag it to the right, drag your cursor to the right. Once you're happy with the position, click on the little diamond to create a final keyframe that will define the end of the animation. Now this next step isn't strictly necessary, but I'm going to go to our roto glasses layer, right click it, and I'm going to pre-compose it and move my attributes into a new layer. The reason for this is I find when you do certain types of effects together, like rotoscope and what we're going to do now, time remapping, they don't always like each other, and you sometimes have to pre-compose, or if you're in Adobe Premiere, nest it to make them want to work together. Bear with me as I refine the speed ramp until the rotation of the glasses is satisfactory. I find with keyframes, some people find this very intuitive. Other people, it takes a while to wrap your brains around it. And I've yet to find a magic bullet to explain it. So you really just have to get in there and getting used to how they operate. Now what I'm going to do is animate the glasses themselves to go from left to right. So again, make a keyframe at the beginning, go towards the end. Now I know earlier I said hit the diamond to create a keyframe, but as long as your cursor is on a different part of the clip and you move it, it will create a new keyframe. And now I'm going to go back into Premiere and just cut this shot off when I don't need it anymore. All right, let's see where our rough cut's at. Nice. Now we're going to go in and do a few final touches. First and foremost, I just want to watch through and make sure the timing of everything works, because there's one last final polish that I'm going to want to do here, outside of just really adjusting the minutia of when I want certain shots to happen. And now I'm going to speed through as I make some of these little final adjustments. So one of the things I've seen in these tutorials tend to miss is adding a bit of a transition to the transition itself between the two clips. What I like to do for these things is I'm going to take an adjustment layer and I'm going to go into our effects and I'm going to add a directional blur. There are other ways to achieve this result. So if you were doing this all in After Effects, you could use the force motion blur. Because I'm showing dynamic link as well, I'm just going to use a little directional blur. Drag and drop your effect on the adjustment layer you just placed on the timeline. Now I'm going to set the direction to follow the motion of the whip pan. I'm going to shrink the adjustment layer because I only want it for a few frames just to help sell the effect. And I'm going to adjust it just to make it that small little whoosh. And I'm going to do that to both sides, copy and paste, drag that over the ledge, and boom. This is a detail I see a lot of these videos leave out, and I find if you don't get the motion blur the way you want with your whip pan, it's a way that you can kind of cheat and get a little bit extra. And there you go. I can't wait to see how you guys integrate this effect into your own projects. Tune in next time for more BeOnAir tube tutorials.